Hi, dear ones. Lisa A. Romano here, the life coach for adult children of alcoholics, and really the life coach for anyone who grew up in a home in which they felt visible. The problem that we experience as adults who have grown up in homes that were not nurturing is that, number one, we don't know we have a self. And so we're very robotic in our everydays, and many of us are walking through life feeling like we're zombies, and that's like we're phonies. We're being fake. And what that sense is coming from is very real. That sense is coming from a place where we understand we're not connected to self. Like we're almost alien inside our own skin. Like we think that life should be feeling like we should feel like life is more meaningful, and we should be feeling like life is more purposeful, and that we should be living from an authentic place. But when you're a child or an adult who's grown up in a home where mom and dad treated you with indifference, mom never asked you how you felt, dad never paid attention to you on an authentic level, we miss that programming, and so we don't know we have a self. And so we grow up and we do things because we think we should be doing them, and it's sort of like this very ambiguous idea. Like we think we should be nurses, we think we should be lawyers, we think we should be truck drivers, we think we should be doing this, and it's really not coming from a place of like, this is who I am. This job represents the being that I am on the inside. So really, it's a very, very complex idea that we really need to grab a hold of. So if you have no patterning for who I am, then you're not living your life from who I am. So how you're living your life is who you think you should be, or you become, or you take on the jobs that mom and dad told you should do, or you just settle for the job that shows up. And so you're not living your life based on your dreams. So you're just passing time. There's a difference. There are people who are connected to self, or at least they're trying to connect to self, and they ask questions like, what do I want to do? What am I passionate about? How can I get in the vicinity of one of my passions? If you like to work with animals, if you like to work with animals and you have a day job, don't quit your day job, but get in the vicinity on the weekends. Maybe donate your time or volunteer your time at an animal shelter. Get in the vicinity of what you think brings you joy and watch what happens, because that's inspired action. That is you learning how to create momentum around one of your dreams and your desires. Dear ones, it's not our default setting. If you're the adult child of an alcoholic, or the adult child of a narcissist, or the adult child of someone who is just emotionally non-available, dear one, it is not your default setting to say, what makes me happy, and what can I do to actually act on that thing that makes me happy? We don't have that programming. That's it. The brain's a program. The brain is basically a laptop computer. So the brain can only play with the data that's in there. And so if you don't have this data, what do I like? What do I want to do? What's important to me? If you don't have that data, then your brain only can play with the words, the tools, the ideas, and the belief systems that are in there. So it's not the end of the world. And this is what I wish the psychiatric community would, and the therapeutic community would really begin helping clients and patients understand that you're not crazy because you keep repeating your patterns. How could it be any other way? If your brain only knows to attract narcissists or alcoholics, and has all that patterning stored in the amygdala, which is in the temporal lobe of the brain, that's where, and research yourself, dear ones, like don't take my word for it. This is scientific stuff. So when you're a child, and you come from a home that's dysfunctional, you live in a state of fight or flight. That state of flight, that is actually trying to save our ass. So if you had a mother who started to grit her teeth, and her body movements started to get real quick, and you knew a beating was coming, like your amygdala stored that information. So why? So that in the future, In the future, when you saw those reactions in other people, you got the hell out of there when you could. This is the problem. When you're a powerless child and that is your everyday, you can neither fight or flee. You're dependent on these crazy people. You're dependent. So every day you're getting ingrained with this panic and this powerlessness and panic and powerlessness and panic and powerlessness. And it's really ingrained in the amygdala. Now the hippocampus in the brain, which is also in the temporal lobe, is associated with memory. And so, dear ones, if you only have memories from 0 to 12, because that's when you're learning. 0 to 7, you learn the most from your crazy ass family. 7 to 12 is when you begin to learning from your peers. So 0 to 12, you are being brainwashed, 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 brainwashed. That's the way it is. Now, if you came from a functional home, a happy home, that's good news. Because now you're 12 and you're like, I want to take tap dancing lessons, da-da-da-da, and you're taking tap dancing. And now you're a rockette. You know, that's awesome. Your life just keeps getting better and better and better. You know, then you marry a bank executive and he's a really nice guy and you have little rockettes and life is wonderful. Blah, 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 blah. That's great. That's not most of us. Most of us are like you and me. We didn't have parents who was like, you want to be a rockette, Lisa? Okay. Let me spend my life savings to help you become a rockette. Well, who had that? You know, who cares if you like to dance? If you like to dance, go outside. Go play in traffic. That's the way we grew up. Most of us. Not the end of the world. But what we have to understand is that we are not crazy if we are stuck in patterns. We're stuck in patterns because we haven't been taught to think from the temporal lobe, from the prefrontal cortex, which is up here. And so what we have to learn to do is recognize the pattern in the amygdala and say, okay, I'm attracting alcoholics because I'm tuned up for and queued up for that. But also, I also know that when I attract an alcoholic, I know that when I take care of him or her, they calm down. This is the problem that we have, dear ones. The brain wants to help us feel like we're in control of our experiences. That's number one. So write that down. The brain is trying to help us feel in control of our experiences. Now listen, the brain can only work with the data that's in the effing brain. That's it. Whatever's stored in the amygdala, whatever's stored in the hippocampus, that's the only data our brains have to play with, okay? So if it's all dysfunctional, guess what? Until you wake the hell up, you're going to repeat what? You're going to repeat these patterns. The brain is looking at all these memories, and it's recreating those patterns in your life. And you will recycle them, and you will recreate them in your everyday life. That's why those of us who had alcoholic parents attract alcoholic friends and attract the only damn alcoholic in a room of 1,000 people, and we're sleeping with them. So that's just the way it works. And it was working that way because of this. Stick with me. Now, your brain wants you to feel in control. That's your brain's job. Give you some sense of control over your life. Brain is beautiful. Don't hate your brain. It's not your brain's fault. Don't hate your body. Don't hate nothing. Your brain's a victim. It's just trying to, but it's also the most sharpest tool in your shed, in your life, is your brain. You just have to honor it and learn how the hell it works and figure this out, because I did. Now, your brain wants to help you feel in control, dear one. That's its goal. The brain can only play with this information that's in it, that's been patterned in it. So the hippocampus and the amygdala is where most people are living their lives from. Very few of us are living from here, from the prefrontal cortex. What we have to do is get out of the patterns that are here and force neural associations, force our brains to create neural pathways to the prefrontal cortex of the brain. We have to force higher thinking. Now, what's really, really cool is that the brain also, the amygdala is connected to the prefrontal cortex this way and that way. So there's this roadway, this feedback system. Now you have to learn how to master that. So it's no different than playing a video game. It's no different than learning how to drive a car. It's no different than becoming a surgeon and learning, or sewing, or crafting. You have to learn how to do it, how to create, move your thoughts from here to here, and back down again. So what we want to do is we want to have a pattern. We have a pattern. For instance, let's say when someone says something to you about what you're eating. Oh, you finished your dinner. Now, I have this pattern. As soon as I said that, I remember my mother saying to me when I was about 15, oh, enjoy those eggs. Enjoy those eggs now, because when you get older, you won't be able to eat omelets like that. You'll be filled with cellulite. So that's the way it was. Just so anyway, anytime I was afraid to eat in front of my mother because she always had a comment about my food. So I have this pattern in my amygdala that my brain stored in there because it was trying to teach me that that's not nice and we should avoid people that criticize us when we get older. That's what the brain really wanted us to do. But when you're in a fight or flight response pattern your whole life, you can't get to the executive, to the CEO of the mind. You're stuck as a little girl because this is your everyday. So you're just trying to avoid the BS, you know what I'm saying? So hear what I'm saying. So let's say you're 49 years old like me, and your husband says, hey, babe, you finished a meal. You must have been hungry. There's going to be this knee-jerk reaction in my amygdala. My hippocampus is going right back to mom when I'm 15, okay? Now, if I do not send information, think from the prefrontal cortex, I'm jumping all over my husband's ass. And he's going to be like, what? What'd I do? Like, I didn't do nothing. So what I have to do is, and this just happened a few days ago, is that he said something. We went out to dinner, and he did say, wow, you must have been hungry. And I saw my mom in my hippocampus, and I thought, okay, he's not my mom. Okay, so there I'm able to get to the prefrontal cortex and override that image and say, but he's not my mom, and he loves me, and he's kind. My relationship with him is kind, okay? Now what happens is I get here, then information gets shunt back to my amygdala, where that pattern begins to get smoothed out. So what will happen is if you spend time thinking outside the box, you got to get out of the temporal lobe, dear one. You got to get out of the temporal lobes of your brain, and you've got to force yourself to the prefrontal cortex. Now I'm going to tell you how to do that. Okay. A lot of people don't understand the deliciousness that meditation is. Oh my God. When you begin meditating, you begin calming the mind. When you calm the mind, it's like clearing the Long Island Expressway. Get off the expressway. Now your car can think. Could you imagine just imagine someone, a helicopter looming overhead, and the helicopter said, it's like your prefrontal cortex, right? Saying, get off the expressway. Lisa Romano needs to get the hell home. And everybody gets off the exit. That's what meditation does to your mind. It gets all this dysfunctional crap that mom and dad and religious teachers and schools and authorities and teachers, whatever, anyone who's ever wounded you with the ridiculous idea about who you are and what life is about, all those thoughts, whoosh, they get off the expressway. Now you can think. So that's what meditation does. Meditation gets all the negative thoughts off the roadway so you can freaking think how you want to think and begin recreating new patterns. So the hippocampus, see, scientists, they thought they were so smart years ago. They said the brain can't regenerate. They were wrong. The hippocampus can actually regenerate brain cells. So meditation helps you regenerate brain cells. Oh my God, that's amazing. That means no matter what your crazy-ass narcissistic mother or your crazy-ass narcissistic father or alcoholic mother, brother, sister, whoever, no matter what anyone has ever done to you, dear one, if you can get these crazy-ass ideas out of your head, even for just 15 minutes, and you can meditate, you can come out of meditation after about, I needed to do an hour-long meditation because I was so messed up. So I would do hour-long meditations, come out of it, and then recreate my thought processes. I am no longer 6. I can think before I react. I no longer have to take things personally. I am willing to give up any belief system that does not serve and empower me. I am willing to make executive decisions from my prefrontal cortex from now on. I hope this has inspired you, dear ones. Please keep your questions coming. You are the wind beneath my